This does call for a standing ovation indeed. 60 films, 50 years, and going strong for another 100, I'm sure. Wonderful, wonderful. Congratulations on behalf of everyone. And you know, your accolades are really our joy and pride. And hence, we in Hyderabad, आपका birthplace है, बिल्कुल नैनीहाल है यहाँ पे. तो हम हैदराबादी की तरफ से आपका ये स्वागत बहुत बहुत दिल से करते हैं, दिलगुज़र है. Let us begin with that. Let us begin with your parents and your childhood and your birth and your connection to Hyderabad.
Well, like I said earlier, I was born in this city. My father was underground. He was a member of the Communist Party. And so I was here for a very short time. Then my mother took me to Bombay at that time. And we lived in a commune of the Communist Party till I was 9 years old. But my connect with Hyderabad remained because every summer during my holidays, my mother would bring me to Hyderabad. And so my relationship with the city is really formed in a very deep and very rooted kind of way. And then what was wonderful is the very first film I did, which was Shyam Benegal's Ankur. That was also shot in Hyderabad in a village, Yella Reddy Guda. Yes. And then after that, another film, Nishat, and in fact Susman also, which we are about to see now. So it's been a bond that has been very constant. And like I said, for me, the city signifies culture, progressive writing. That's what we grew up in. In fact, Mariam Ahmed, who's here, my cousin, her father was the editor of Siyasat, Param daily. And so it was a very intellectual atmosphere in which we grew up. And then my mother joined theatre, and so then it became also about theatre. So it was really just art that I grew up in.
Was it then that maybe you may have imagined that this is the life that you're going to lead? When did the first seeds of your aspiration to become an actor, a performer?
Very late. I mean, I was always acting when I was in school. And in fact, the first time I ever appeared on stage, I was 3 years old, and it was a nursery rhyme. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. Instead of jumping over the moon, I jumped on the moon. At which point the moon got up and gave me one tight slap, and I gave her another tight slap, and there the curtains had to be drawn. So it was very dramatic, my entry into theatre. But I was working all the time, every year in theatre. And then when I joined St. Xavier's College, Farooq Sheikh, who was 2 years my senior, and I realized that there was no Hindi theatre, that there was only English theatre. So we then, thank you for that. So we then, now I can hear the voice. So we then decided to form the Hindi Natyam Manch, Farooq and myself, and then we would inevitably win all the awards. So best actor, best actress, best play, best direction, etc. So at that time I started realizing that yes, this is something that I'd like to do. I would also accompany my mother when I was very little, and she would travel with Prithvi Theatre, and so during my vacations I would be taken. And then what Prithviraj Kapoor had done, he would make me costumes. So in the group sequence, I would be just brought up on stage. So I literally grew up with the smell of grease paint in my nostrils. And then something very wonderful happened because I remember very clearly, I told my father, Kafi Azmi, I asked him, I said, it's acting that I want to do seriously. So will you support me? And Amita, he said something wonderful. He said, Bete, I will support you in anything you choose to do. If you want to be a mochi, if you want to be a shoemaker, and you say tomorrow I want to be a mochi, I'll support you in that also, provided you tell yourself I'll try to be the best mochi in the business. So when you have that kind of support, you know, the world is your oyster. And then I went to the Film Institute, I got the gold medal for best student in acting, and then after that it just flew.
Remain best forever. Wonderful.
It's only about being at the right place at the right time, let me tell you.
Well, that has happened absolutely throughout. But you know, you also entered the world of cinema at the time that there was transitioning. The parallel cinema is such an important part of what we call Bollywood, but really it is about the Indian cinema. And you were there at that time, and rightfully at the right time. Your first film itself was probably the path-breaking one, Shyam Benegal's Desai, and yourself. I mean, that must have been quite an exhilarating experience.
You know, when I did the film, I didn't quite know. I remember writing to my mother during the shooting and saying, this seems like some Satyajit Ray film. I couldn't quite figure what it was, but I definitely enjoyed doing it thoroughly. Because remember, I had been exposed to the best of international cinema. When I was in the Film Institute, I was watching Fellini, I was watching Ingmar Bergman, who was my all-time favorite, and Lee Woolman, my most favorite actor. So, I had been exposed to a kind of international cinema which, had I been only in Bombay, I would never have been exposed to it. So I had my aesthetics honed in a different way. And when Shyam Benegal approached me for it, it was lovely. But I'll tell you about an incident. Now, it was the first time when I came for Ankur, a city-bred, urban, St. Xavier's College ki ladki, I came into a village for the first time. So everything was all very alien to me. So Shyam Benegal told me, for the first 3 days there's no shooting, but I suggest that you just wear the clothes of the character and just roam in it. So I said, okay. Now, when the tailor came, he just looked me up and down. And so he said, okay. So I told Shama, but he hasn't taken my measurements. How is he going to do it? She said, are you mad? A rural tailor is going to put a marking tape on your bust. You forget about it. So I said, tu banayega kaise? Kehte wo upar se niche khichiya bahut. So it was so strange, the whole thing. And then I had, for a long time in the film, I sit on my haunches because I'm in a mud hut. That's something I couldn't do. So Shyam said, "Achha, ek kaam karte. We'll all sit on our table and eat during lunchtime." तो मैं से कोने में जाके और वहाँ ज़मीन पे बैठ के खाना खाऊं. So obviously I used to struggle with it and all that, but I did as he told me. Now about 4 days into the shooting, some young college boys came and they looked at me very disdainfully and they said, "Heron किधर है?" तो I said, "वो छुट्टी पे आज नहीं आई। तुम क्या करती है?" मैंने कहा, "मैं आया हूँ." "हाँ, समझ में आया, चल करके चले गए." Now Shyam was watching me from the table and he said, "Achha, you've earned your place. You convinced them that you are an IR, so now you come and you sit with us." And that's how I got practice to be in that village.
Lovely. But tell me, did that blouse literally fit?
Yeah, it fit me perfectly. It fit me perfectly. Amazing.
It's the eye, it's the eye. And it's the eye of Shyam Benegal that he did include you on the table as well. And since, I mean, you worked with Shyam Benegal ji, you worked with several renowned directors in India and abroad. Comparable, not comparable, joy, not joy. I mean, each film has done very well. But yes.
You know, when I first did
film with Shirley MacLaine in London. I think in English, I speak in English. It, in a sense, is the language that comes easiest to me. But when I went there, it sounded so alien because the English that all of them were speaking was completely different. And so I used to be teased. Here's this convent girl who speaks in this convent thing. So I was very conscious of that. But then it was at that time when Indians were looked upon askance, कौन है ये third world की ladki, etc. But in the years that I have worked, right up to when I'm working with Steven Spielberg in Halo, it's completely changed. Because in fact, today, film sets have become a microcosm of the world. You have people from Poland, you have people from India, you have people from England, from Canada, from USA, everything. And there is no discrimination that you're from this world and that. So that I really, really, totally enjoy. Now to say, how different is it in the beginning? Of course, it was completely different because that we worked in Hindi cinema without a script. We just knew the storyline. And there were times when Rajesh Khanna and I were doing the first page of a scene, not knowing what the second page was going to be. And that was being written by Qadir Khan in another studio where he was also acting. तो पहला पेज करके हमको ये नहीं मालूम है कि दूसरा पेज क्या होने वाला है, then it come गरम में. So the fact that we managed to bring any kind of credibility is really to our credit. But I remember we learned from each other because we are jugadus. कुछ भी होता है तो हम कर लेते हैं. उनका system इतना perfect होता है कि if anything goes wrong in the system, they are unable to cope with it. Now when we were shooting for City of Joy, it was the last day Patrick Swayze, who was on the set, it was going to be his last day. And there was a big rain sequence. Pata chala the rain machines that they had brought had all conked. So there was total chaos. कि अभी Patrick Swayze will go back tomorrow. क्या करें ये वो. So there were some young boys sitting on a fence over there saying, क्या है इतना प्रॉब्लम. तो उन्होंने बोला भाई हमको रेन मशीन करना. You give us 4 hoses, we'll create the rain. And with 4 hoses, they did better than that rain machine. And what was kept in the film was what these 4 boys have done. So it's not as if only we learn from them; they also learn from us.
Right. How wonderful! How wonderful! Tell me, acting you have been doing, and does it ever occur to you wanting to direct a film? I mean, you have directors in your family
it's
now.
too easy being an actor. बहुत बड़े डायरेक्टर वो अमोल पालेकर ही हैं जो ऐसा कर सकते हैं कि एक्टर छोड़ के फिर डायरेक्शन करने लगे. It's so cushy being a director. The fact is that I have thought about it, but I'm lazy. And I'm lucky because I'm still getting very good roles. It's better.
You are. And talking about roles, I mean the roles then and the roles now, times have changed, language has changed, the body language has changed. But you enamored us in that Rocky and Rani. I mean by just the romance that could come out of not just the young couple but the senior couple. But to be able to speak that.
But for that you have to give credit to the writer and the director.
Yes.
Because it's really film is such a collaborative medium, and really the director is the captain of the ship. And actors get away with most of the appreciation or most of the flack because it's their face that comes in front of the camera. But we actors know that it is only because there's a whole host of technicians behind the camera who are working to enhance our strengths and to hide our weaknesses. So in a film, I don't think you can say you've given a good performance without all of that. On the stage, it is you. It is the actor's medium. Because you could have got any instructions, whatever, but when you're on stage, it's just a relationship between the audience and the actor.
But to be able to evoke that in the audience, there is a language that you use, your body language, your face, which of course, and particularly in Tumhari Amrita, where the two actors sit on the table and at a table in a chair and emote their story.
And it was very good because the American writer who wrote it, Gurney, A.R. Gurney or something like that, said that I will prove that this is a theatrical experience, it's not a radio play.
Right.
And what was very interesting about it is, we did 300 shows or something like that. And Feroz Khan would always say, I don't want you to learn your lines. You have to read the letters. Now that's the exact opposite of every discipline that we've been trained in. The first thing we say is learn your lines. And now he's demanding of you, don't learn the lines. So we had to unlearn that.
Yes.
And when Gurney came to India, he loved play, and there was another interpretation of it in English.
Yes.
And he was very annoyed with that.
Yes.
He said, I've written this challenging that this can become a theatrical.
That's right. I witnessed that piece and I witnessed yours and I saw it 5 times. So of the 300, and 2 of them were in Hyderabad. You have performed here. And absolutely fabulous acting. So theatre seems to be something that is close to your heart as well.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think the thrill of doing a live performance, I just had that experience 2 days ago. I was at the Kolkata Literature Festival and we did a performance of Broken Images, written by Girish Karnal, directed by Alec Palamsi. And it's a one-woman play, but it's me talking to a previously recorded image of mine. So obviously, technically, it is very challenging because I can't constantly look at that image. I also have to make contact. Amol, आपने नहीं देखा ना वो? हाँ. So you have to constantly also make contact with the audience. पता ये चला 5 minutes into the play, the image was not there. Then quickly they did something. Then the image came out sing. वो बोल कुछ रही है, वो कर कुछ रही है. So I started ad-libbing with the audience and I said, just when I decided that I was going to show off my prowess in front of this Kolkata audience, look how the technicians have let me down. And it went on and the people thought it was part of the play. For about 11 minutes it went on. I started singing, I cracked jokes, I did everything, and then so many people told me, but we thought it was part of the play. So you have to be right there on your feet and doing it. But the adrenaline flows.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, my husband always tells me, मत करो ये play, मुझे इतना tension होता है. मैंने कहा वो tension ही मैं enjoy करती हूँ.
So would you rather do plays or that's depending on the script? Would you rather do theatre?
No. I think basically I'm a cinema actor and stage is something that I have the liberty of doing because it also owns my art. But I think for any actor, the best discipline would be to do both.
To do both. Wonderful, wonderful. Along with your acting and throughout, but particularly in the young years, you have been out there with the street people, fighting literally, because people didn't know this could happen, that a celebrity could come to the roads with the Janta and ask for their rights. You have been a change maker. Tell us about the experience of being a celebrity out down on the road and being able to achieve. You actually got them their housing, which was part of the...
It was just a spontaneous reaction. I used to see the slums being demolished in Bombay, and especially during the monsoons. And it used to hurt me very badly because I would see this mother with her children all littered on the pavement. But like everybody else, I thought, ki, kya kar sakte hain? I mean, what can you possibly do? But it was when I joined Nivara Haq, an NGO that works for the right to shelter, that I realized how complicated the whole thing is. I'll tell you a very interesting qissa. I was doing this play, Tumhari Amrita, and I was arrested along with 16 slum dwellers on completely trumped up charges by the police. So I said, I refuse to take bail, you have to let me go like this. They said, no, of course we can't let you go. Meanwhile, at 6 o'clock, I had a show of Tumhari Amrita at NCPA. So my mother, my father, Farooq Sheikh, Firoz Khan, Javed Akhtar, all of them landed up. And I said, no, I refuse to take bail. So my mother knew that I'm very hard-headed. So she came up to the police inspector and she says, you know, Shabana is an activist, but she's also an actor. And abhi uska play रुका हुआ है वहाँ 2 घंटे में आप मुझे इसको ले जाने दीजिए 2 घंटे में जब प्ले खत्म हो जाएगा तो फिर मैं आपके पास छोड़ दूँगी फिर आप उसको अरेस्ट कर लीजिए इतनी पागलपन है this whole family is completely mad but then she went to the audience and she said you know she's been arrested and we are trying very hard to get her released so please you can get your tickets reimbursed. Not one single person left the theatre for 2 hours and we reached at 8 o'clock and we did it and we got a standing ovation. That's what theatre can absolutely do. Coming back to the slum dwellers, you see what I realized that demolitions serve no purpose. They only create worse slums out of already existing slums. Because why do the people come to the city? In search of work, not in search of housing. They sell the piece of land they have, they sell their wives' jewelry, they come to the city gives them work, but does not give them any place to live. Now, unless the government realizes that if you do not give land at subsidized rates. Nobody can buy land at market rate to get these people, you see. So it is very important that you fight for a bank of land that is provided at subsidized rates for the slum dwellers. So we know the answer. But who's listening? जब उनको सूट करता है, जब उनको अपने वोट से दिलवाने होते हैं, जब ठीक है उसके बाद फिर नहीं सुनते. But this is the working population of Mumbai. 70% of the people live in the slums. Can you imagine if all of them decided to call a strike and the whole city would come?
It would collapse and nobody who's living in the housing would be able to survive.
So look at it, the boy who comes in and gives you the newspaper, the person who brings the milk, the maid who looks after your children so that you can go out and work. All of them come from the slums. Now you cannot expect to have just a one-way relationship with them. कि cheap labor को हम कर लेंगे, मगर जब उनको कोई rights देना है तो it goes up in the air. So it's about, and that's why the work that my father did in Mijwan, which was the land of his birth, intersected perfectly with the work I was doing, because his insistence was that if you want to bring real progress to India, you have to turn towards your villages, where 80% of the population lives, and you get about empowering the villagers by concentrating and focusing on the girl child and the woman. And you make the villages self-sufficient so people would not have to come to the city in search of work. So it worked very beautifully. And so then after he passed away, I took on the reins of Mijwa Welfare Society, which we are doing precisely that. We provide education, skill development, computer skills, also a gaming, a sports complex.
Yes.
And what has happened, Manish Malhotra, the big Bollywood designer, is getting all his chicken curry done from there.
Oh, wonderful.
So what has happened is these women who used to be looked upon as liabilities are suddenly being looked upon as assets by the family. So the equation has
It's
changed
changing.
in the
Yes.
family. So it's
Very noble, very beautiful. And would you say that art is a vehicle of change?
But I grew up believing, my parents believed that art should be used as an instrument for social change. That's what he did with his poetry. That's what Mummy did with her plays. So when I got involved with these issues and people said, how can an actress do this? What nonsense? She wants to join politics and all those speculations. The thing is, for me, it was the most natural thing in the world.
No, when it comes across in the way you talk about your passions and the requirement of the society as well. You're part of the society. The beautiful thing is that a stardom does not take you away from the society, but very much within it, and that is beautiful. Have you ever felt the burden of image? This is the words that you have used in your interview to Sham Benegal, in fact, which I watched. So, how does one deal with that? You have two parents, illustrious in the field that they're working, very inspirational in themselves, and you creating another image of that which comes from the background.
Amita, I don't see it as different because see, my work as an actor and as an activist and as a member of parliament is the same. It's the same concerns, except that they're being interpreted differently. So I don't see it as an antithesis to what comes to me naturally.
Right. But it coexists with the image that you
it's
have.
inevitable. Yeah.
It is.
But I'm not. I don't say that no, all cinema should also be meaningful. That would be a fascist way of thinking.
Yes.
I mean, if there are people who believe that art should be used as an instrument of entertainment, so be it. That also has a right to exist. People should be given a choice. They want to see this kind of cinema or that kind of cinema. They want to read this kind of book or that kind of book. They should be given a choice. To insist that only what you think is good should be followed by everybody, I do not believe. And इसमें मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि सिर्फ एक मेरी गुजारिश है कि all right, you want to serve art as an instrument of entertainment, but let's redefine the entertainment.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be so crass. It doesn't have to be so vulgar. The songs don't have to be such that they demean the woman. They take away all autonomy from her. That can be revisited, I think. Because the business of cinema is the business of images.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, when you photograph a girl doing an item number, you divide her body into fragmented bits. So it's a heaving bosom, a swiveling navel, a swirling hip. You are robbing her autonomy because you fragment it and make her a subject and a victim of the male gaze. So how is that autonomy?
Absolutely. How
so
is
I
that
think
entertainment as
yeah,
well?
I think that needs to be. If you sing, मैं तलबूरी मुर्ग हूँ मुझे गटका लो alcohol के साथ, then what is it that you are doing? So I think उसके बारे में थोड़ा सोचना चाहिए.
Bilkul, bilkul. And the word item number itself is so demeaning. I mean, to objectify to that extent.
But you know what? Javed has a very strong argument. He says, all right, 10 लोगों ने गाना बनाया है, 20 लोगों ने उसको फोटोग्राफ किया है, ठीक है, मगर जो 10 करोड़ लोग उसको देख रहे हैं और पसंद कर रहे हैं और शादियों में अपने 4 साल के बच्चों को वो डांस करवा रहे हैं, उनका क्या? So the audience also has to have some responsibility, right? It can't just be blamed on the cinema.
No, very correct. I mean, cinema does reflect the society and give back what the society wants to see. So I agree that there has to be that discerning eye. One question before I open it up, and I don't think we have too much time, but we will take a few questions if that's all right with you. To do it my way. I love the song of encapsulating your career. Fabulous 50 years in cinema and theatre and activism. To do it your way, what is that? Of course you've done it, we know it.
You need to accept, I think, what the challenge of presenting what you deeply feel. So for that you have to have strength, to have confidence and to believe that इस सोच को आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए and not be afraid of failure.
Right.
ऐसा हो सकता है, but so many of us will not take the plunge because we don't want to face failure. So face failure, and if you do something and it doesn't work, okay, then you get up the next time. But you know, Amita, I do want to leave a message that my father gave me, which really has become a mantra for me. You know, when he was working in the village, there were lots of impediments in his way and he was badly criticized and all kinds of terrible things were happening. My mother used to get very upset with that. She said, is halat mein, he's paralyzed, his left leg and arm is not working, and yet he goes and lives in this village and they are so thankless and all that. So one day I asked him, I said, Abba, when change does not happen at the pace you want it to, don't you get frustrated? Don't you feel it's not worth it? You know, he said to me, baby, when you're working for change, you should build into that expectation the possibility that change might not occur in your lifetime, because transformation is a very long process. But if you carry on working with full sincerity and passion, then change will occur, even if it does so after you are gone. Now, when you see it in that perspective, there's no question of any kind of frustration, and that to me is really my mantra.
Absolutely, and that is your way.
Yeah.
And you know, the films that you've done, the way it's been done, the parallel cinema in those years, the woman's voice was beginning to come out. That was probably the first time that the woman actually had something to say and was heard. Now, of course, we've moved, thankfully, to a stage where women are actually directing and women-based themes that are being presented. That entire spectrum you have seen, witnessed, and been a very active part of. Do you see it going in the right direction?
I think so. I think that we are always 2 steps in front, 1 step backward, but I think finally it is dawning on the filmmakers that content is king. Just thinking कि इस स्टार को ले लो, ये फॉर्मूला बना लो, ये कर लो, वो कर लो, is not working anymore. So it is really content. And if content becomes the driving force, then it's going to be a very strong way forward.
Inspiring. I think we're ready to open up. There are so many hands that have gone up.
There's Sandhya over there. I'd like to take her question first.
So do we have mics that can go around?
Audience, we've grown up seeing you. He mentions that Smita always was a little uncomfortable going towards the commercial cinema, whereas we saw you Fakira and we were like really zapped. Was it really easy for you, or there were some changes, or?
No, it was not easy at all.
I know.
It was not easy at all. It was horrible. I had 2 left feet. I couldn't dance to save my life, and I did all kinds of to realize that I cannot be the Hindi film heroine. That I will have to do substantial parts in it. So the Arth and the Masoom and the Avatar and all were a result of that understanding. I mean, I was lucky that I got away with Parvaresh Amar Akbar Anthony and all that, but I think it was really in the late 80s that I found my Mitya.
Great.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Shabana ji, we Hyderabadis believe that biryani, sherwanis and not many
अरे मगर मेरे को
parishani.
कुछ खिलाते तो मेरे को पता चलता ना, सिर्फ उसके बाद रूखी रूखी बातें करने से नहीं चलता अपना.
I know. Ours is the land of biryani, sherwanis, not many parishanis, we believe. One more thing is, happy to have a Hyderabadi girl here. My question is, in Hollywood you see mainly scripts are written for senior women, mature women, exclusively for them. In India, like in Bollywood or other characters, so today when you go back home, can you please request Javed ji to write a character like that? This is a collective request from Hyderabad.
अरे यार मेरे घर में है बेस्ट राइटर, बेस्ट डायरेक्टर, बेस्ट प्रोड्यूसर. You know Steven Spielberg will cast me, but क्या मजा ले कि my children will, and he actually cast me. So now tell me, please खुदा के वास्ते करो. I'll take your request to them. Thank you.
I have a question for you. So many girls and women are coming out to pursue their dreams nowadays, comparatively earlier generation. So even though they are trying to break the glass ceiling, this disparity you
I
are.
can't understand. Can you just keep the mic a little away?
Yeah, ma'am. Nowadays, so many girls and women are coming out to pursue their dreams, and they are trying to break break the glass ceiling. This kind of scenario you are seeing in film industry also, gender disparity.
To break the glass ceiling. Did you also experience the
Down.
from
The onus lies with us. How do we raise our sons? It's not about how we raise our daughters. It is about how we raise our sons and make them.
कुछ कविता कृष्णमूर्ति के मुंह से सुना था, जब सास में आप एक्टिंग कर रही थी, गाने गा रही थी, तो आपकी नसें दिख रही थी. और उसी तरह मैं 5 साल की उम्र से आपको पूजा करता हूँ. सुबह उठता हूँ तो शबाना आज़मी मेरे मुख से निकलता है. जब आप इतनी अच्छी अदाकारा हैं, अब्बा कैफी आज़मी जी, अम्मी शौकत कैफी, जावेद साहब, गुलजार साहब, आप इतने उच्च कोटि रचनाकार कवियों के साथ रह चुकी हैं. आपको क्यों नहीं लगता ये? और मैं समझता हूँ जिस प्रकार भारत देश की सबसे सर्वश्रेष्ठ अभिनेत्री 5 नेशनल अवार्ड विनर आप हैं, अगर आप एक मूवी डायरेक्ट करेंगी तो वो मूवी बहुत अच्छी रहेगी और मैं देखना चाहता हूँ.
आप प्रोड्यूसर को खींच के ले आइए, मैं कर लूँगी.
थैंक यू.
over here, please?
Society, to challenge the society, you have been very, very active. So, could you share some experiences? How easy or difficult it has been?
What I received from my industry colleagues, because in the beginning they said ये क्या ये actors जाके सड़क पर लेट के 5 दिन तक hunger strike कर रही है. It was unheard of and stuff like that. But I also received a lot of support. So I think there's something when you're working that is an easier thing to do. If it's for cancer, if it's for blindness, it's easier. It's when you take on the political powers that becomes difficult to do. But I suppose in a strange way, even the politicians, in fact particularly Sharad Pawar, have the ability to recognize, genuinely काम कर रहे हैं. So he got us involved in a project, and that couldn't have been had we not got the respect of the government. So it's been up and down.
I appreciate your craft as well as your activism. I watched most of your films from Ankur to Rocky or Rani. Absolutely fabulous. I wanted to ask, has it become very, very simple for you to do a variety of roles, or do you really have to work for each of them? Just a little bit about your craft, if you could tell us. I watched Ankur in 1976, didn't see it immediately because I had a little baby, hardly 1 year. But the moment I thought I could...
Again, honing the craft is a thing that is required. It's like having a raw diamond, but you need the polishing of the diamond. In like wattle and all of that came from the outside, and then somehow I found the character inside. The exact opposite happened during Kandar. It tried to lose things like that. And then I realized that I was just going deep inside me and discovering that Jamini from within me. I didn't think about any of the externals about how she would be played. But I think the character tells you about how you have to approach it. But hard work is, I think nothing can replace hard work. You can never take it for granted. The minute you take anything for granted, you get one tight slap in your face. That's the demand. The riyaz is very, very important. Thank you.
The young lady at the back, please.
Studying in Hyderabad. So my introduction to you was from Deepa Mehta's Fire, and I just wanted to say that since you have done such a revolutionary film, portraying like a very explicit queer portrayal, and with the kind of films that are coming in Bollywood right now, a lot of really bigoted kind of propagandist films that are sort of fanning the right-wing propaganda, and you having done such absolutely different kind of films, like what do you have to say for the kind of films that are coming into the mainstream and influencing the audience?
What kind of films are you talking about, darling?
Nokshala Baskar Story or Kashmir Files, or things like Kerala Story.
Yeah, well, again, it's something that we disagree with violently, but it is something, there is some kind of patronage that they are getting, because of which, I have a strange take on this. There will always be a fight between the right wing and the left. There will always be, it's inherent, because the ideologies are so different. But if you talk about real democracy, that all should be allowed to be made. And then it is the government's business to see that they protect the certificate that they've given. Otherwise, what's the point in the census certificate? Aaj jo hai, 10 people can get up and say, we hate this, we don't want it. It's alright, you can express that, but you cannot stand on the foundation of secularism and pluralism. Okay? Now look at how histories are being rewritten. See how entire chapters are being removed from our syllabi, and people are just watching. It's just happening. So we are going through that period. The sad thing is, the good thing is that these films will not always work. जो ये बहुत strong propaganda films हैं, जब उन्होंने उसको रिपीट करने की कोशिश की वो नहीं चली. So you have to how do you do that? By making your kind of film. But I mean you can say ये बहुत बुरी है, ये है, वो है, सब कुछ, लेकिन आप उसका तोड़ कैसे देंगे? By continuing to do the work that you believe in and make it available for the public. And it's for the powers that be to make sure that when the Constitution of India is a very beautiful constitution, and to protect the Constitution is what the powers that be should be doing.
I'll just add to one question that before 91's liberalization, the films you had heroes like Satyakam or Choti Choti Baat. But now this kind of heroes who are having the Gandhis in their heart is not coming. Why the reason with that?
I didn't get your question, just
The movies, in movies the heroes like Satyakam or Choti Choti Baat's hero Amul Palekar used to have the heart of Gandhi. But nowadays after 1991's liberalization tide comes, the heroes are swayed by the consumerism and the flashy things. So why the film industry is
consumerism, it's all related, ना? You can characterize it and say यहाँ तक ये ठीक था और वहाँ तक वो ठीक नहीं है. I think that there is always a mix of the kind of films, and it really ultimately is the audience that has to make the choice. If you go and if you patronize films that are blatantly right-wing and stuff like that, it will happen. It will happen. In your personal life, what is the choice that you are making is the most important thing, according to me.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, on your behalf, on behalf of the organizers, I take the opportunity to once more congratulate Shabana Azmi. Thank you. आप इस तरफ से आएंगे.